The first time I noticed it, I told myself I was imagining it. Doctors look at patients differently. Clinical. Observational. But this wasn't that. My name is Ethan Mercer. I'm 36 years old. And last Tuesday, I went with my wife to what I thought was a routine follow-up appointment. Her doctor, Dr. Lena Strauss, barely looked at my wife. She kept looking at me. Not casually. Not professionally. Long enough for it to feel deliberate. Every time my wife glanced down at her phone, Dr. Strauss's eyes flicked back to mine. There was no smile. No flirtation. Just something else. Something like urgency. The appointment ended normally. Blood work. Medication adjustments. Next visit scheduled. We left. I almost forgot about it. Until an hour later. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Ethan? The voice asked quietly. It was her. I couldn't say this in my office, Dr. Strauss said. There are cameras everywhere. My chest tightened. This is about your wife. You need to come tomorrow morning. Pause. Alone. Silence on my end. She lowered her voice. And whatever you do, she must never know. The line went dead. I stared at the screen. Inside our kitchen, my wife was humming while making tea. Perfectly calm. Perfectly normal. And for the first time in our 8-year marriage, I realized I didn't actually know what she was being treated for. I didn't ask her anything that night. That's the first thing people do wrong, they react. I watched instead. Emma moved through the house like she always did. Calm. Efficient. Controlled. She placed her phone face down on the counter while cooking. She didn't usually do that. Did Dr. Strauss change anything? I asked casually. Just dosage adjustments, she replied without looking up. Dosage. She never tells me the names of her medications. Says they're hormonal and complicated. I nodded, smiled, went upstairs. At 7:58 a.m. the next morning, I walked into the clinic alone. Dr. Strauss didn't ask me to sit. She locked the door. Actually locked it. That shouldn't have happened, she said quietly. What shouldn't? She hesitated, then placed a file on the desk. Not printed normally. Red tag. Restricted. Your wife is not being treated for what she told you, she said. The room felt smaller. She told me it was a thyroid issue. Dr. Strauss shook her head slowly. It's neurological. My pulse slowed instead of racing. Meaning? She leaned forward. There are cognitive shifts, Ethan. Memory distortions. Impulse changes. I stared at her. That doesn't explain why you called me secretly. She swallowed. It's not just the diagnosis. Silence. Then. She specifically asked us not to document certain episodes. Episodes? I repeated. Dr. Strauss held my gaze. She's been reporting conversations with you that never happened. The air felt thinner. That's impossible. Is it? She asked quietly. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. She claims you've been trying to poison her. For a moment I actually laughed. It wasn't funny. It was instinct. Poison her? I repeated. That's not. Dr. Strauss didn't smile. She described specific incidents, she said calmly. Tea tasting metallic. Water left uncovered. Medication timing altered. My throat went dry. She thinks I'm drugging her? She believes you're slowly adjusting her doses. Silence stretched between us. I've never even touched her prescriptions, I said. Dr. Strauss nodded. I know. You know? She brought in a sample of her medication last month, the doctor continued. Said she suspected tampering. We ran a lab comparison. And? No alterations. Relief came, thin and temporary. Then this is delusion, I said. Dr. Strauss hesitated. That's what we thought. Thought. Past tense. She also described hidden cameras in your house, the doctor added. Specifically in the kitchen. The kitchen. I pictured her placing her phone face down. Her glancing over her shoulder while making tea. Are there cameras? Dr. Strauss asked gently. No, I said. And then I paused. Not inside. But outside. Security system. Front door. Garage. Cloud storage. Accessible remotely. Ethan, she said carefully, I'm concerned about escalation. In what direction? She lowered her voice again. She asked about self-defense laws. The room felt colder. She said if someone is slowly harming you, preemptive action can be justified. I didn't move. I didn't speak. Because suddenly, the question wasn't whether she thought I was poisoning her. The question was whether she believed she needed to stop me first. Dr. Strauss slid something across the desk. Printed transcript. Her words. She said, "If he tries it again, I won't wait." My heartbeat finally shifted. Tries what? I asked. The doctor looked at me carefully. She wouldn't say. And for the first time since this began, I realized I wasn't the only one observing. I drove home slower than usual. Not because I was afraid. Because I was recalculating. If Emma believed I was poisoning her, then every normal gesture I made could be interpreted as threat. Dinner. Medication reminders. Even silence. When I walked inside, she was at the kitchen counter again. Same kettle. Same mug. She looked up and smiled. "How was work?" she asked lightly. Normal tone. Normal eyes. "Routine," I replied. I watched her hands. Steady. She poured hot water into her cup. Didn't offer me one. That was new. "Did you go back to the clinic?" she asked casually. The question landed too cleanly. "No," I said evenly. "Why?" "Just wondering," she replied, stirring slowly. Metal spoon. Ceramic cup. Soft sound. She held the mug close but didn't drink immediately. Instead she watched me, like she was waiting for something. "You've been distant," she said. "Have I?" She nodded. Different. Different. Interesting word. That night I didn't sleep much. Around 2:17 a.m. I heard movement in the hallway. Soft. Careful. Not bathroom footsteps. Measured ones. I stayed still. The bedroom door opened slightly. Then closed. She didn't know I was awake. A few minutes later, my phone vibrated on the nightstand. Unknown number. I checked it silently. One message. "You need to check your kitchen cabinet. Top shelf." No name. No explanation. I waited until morning. Emma left early for yoga. I went to the cabinet. Top shelf. Behind the cereal boxes. A small plastic bag. Inside. One of her prescription bottles. Empty. And taped to it. A note in her handwriting. "If something happens to me, it was him." My hands didn't shake. But something else did. Because she wasn't just afraid. She was preparing. I didn't throw the bottle away. I didn't confront her. I put it back exactly where I found it. Preparation only works if the other person believes they're ahead. When Emma came home, she was glowing from yoga. Calm. Relaxed. Present. "You okay?" she asked gently. "Why wouldn't I be?" I replied. She studied my face a second longer than normal. Then smiled. That night I did something different. I moved the outdoor security feed to a private encrypted backup. Not to spy on her. To document patterns. At 11:43 p.m. she left the bedroom again. Barefoot. Slow. Not heading to the kitchen this time. She went into my office. I stayed still. Counted seconds. After 6 minutes, she returned to bed. The next morning I checked the footage. She opened my desk drawer. The one with my supplement capsules. Not prescriptions. Just magnesium and B-complex. She took something out. Swapped something. Then left. I went downstairs calmly. Opened the drawer. My supplement bottle felt lighter. I poured the capsules into my palm. Different color. Same shape. My pulse stayed controlled. I placed them back exactly as they were. Then I called Dr. Strauss. "She's escalating," I said quietly. Silence. "Ethan," the doctor replied, "has she ever had episodes of paranoia before?" "No." "Any family history?" I hesitated. Her mother had institutionalization rumors no one discussed. "Maybe," I admitted. Dr. Strauss inhaled slowly. "There's another possibility." "What?" "She may not believe you're poisoning her." "Then what does she believe?" The doctor's voice dropped. "She may believe you already tried, and she survived." That reframed everything. Because if she thought she survived an attempt, then this wasn't defensive behavior. This was retaliation. And retaliation doesn't wait for proof. It waits for opportunity. I didn't take the capsules to the police. I took them to a lab. Private. Fast. By 4 p.m. I had the results. Not poison. Not lethal. Low-dose beta-blocker compound. The same class used to slow heart rate. The same class sometimes prescribed for anxiety. Or, to mimic cardiac distress. My breathing stayed steady. She hadn't tried to kill me. She had tried to make something look natural. Just like she believed I was doing to her. When Emma came home that evening, she studied me carefully. "You look pale," she said softly. "Long day." She watched my hands while I poured water. Waiting. Measuring. That's when I understood. This wasn't random delusion. This was narrative construction. She needed symptoms. She needed me to feel off balance. She needed a pattern. Because patterns become proof. Later that night I checked my email. A draft message sat in my outbox. Addressed to her doctor. Subject: medication concerns. I hadn't written it. The body of the email described mood swings, aggression, subtle hostility. Signed with my name. Timestamp 2:19 a.m. The exact time she entered my office. I closed the laptop slowly. This wasn't paranoia. It was staging. If she could document instability in me, and document fear in herself, then any incident could be reframed. Self-defense. Medical confusion. Tragic escalation. I walked into the living room. She was sitting cross-legged on the couch, reading. Peaceful. Delicate. "I think we should talk," I said. She looked up slowly. About time. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. And for the first time I wasn't wondering if she was sick. I was wondering if she had ever been. "I think we should talk," I repeated. Emma closed her book carefully. "About what?" she asked softly. No tension in her voice. No tremor. Just patience. I sat across from her. "About the emails you drafted from my account." A flicker. Tiny. Almost invisible. "I don't know what you mean." 2:19 a.m., I said. "You were in my office." She tilted her head slightly. "You're imagining things." That sentence landed heavier than anything else she'd said. Gaslighting only works if it destabilizes. It didn't. I leaned forward calmly. I tested the capsules. Her expression didn't change. "They weren't lethal," I continued, "but they were altered." Silence. Then she did something unexpected. She smiled. Not nervous. Not forced. Relieved. "You finally noticed," she said quietly. The room felt smaller. "Noticed what?" "That you're capable of suspicion," she replied. My pulse shifted. "This wasn't about poison," she continued. "It was about response." "Response to what?" She stood up slowly. Walked toward the kitchen. "You've been pulling away for months," she said. "Checking accounts. Changing passwords. Observing me." "Because I had." Quietly. I followed her. "I thought you were sick," I said. She turned to face me. "And I thought you were leaving." That landed harder than the lab results. She wasn't building a murder defense. She was building control. "If you believe someone might betray you," she said softly, "you test them." "By framing them?" "By seeing how far they'll go." Silence stretched between us. Then she said something that shifted everything. "I never reported you formally." My breath paused. "I wanted to see what you'd do first. Not paranoia. Not illness. A game." And suddenly the most dangerous part wasn't the capsules. It was the realization that we were both playing. And neither of us had admitted it. Until now. We stood in the kitchen facing each other like two attorneys negotiating terms instead of two people married for 8 years. "You thought I was leaving," she said quietly. "So you started auditing me." "You thought I was poisoning you," I replied. "So you started documenting me." Neither of us denied it. Because both of us knew it was true. The fear hadn't started with medication. It started months ago. Small things. Late-night work calls. Separate bank accounts. Emotional distance disguised as productivity. We stopped communicating and started monitoring. That's when trust mutates. Not into hatred. Into surveillance. "I never planned to hurt you," she said. Neither did I. And for the first time since this began, the tension shifted. Not because the danger was gone, but because the truth was finally visible. There was no master scheme. No slow poisoning. No mental collapse. There was insecurity. Ego. Control. And two intelligent people too proud to admit they were afraid of losing each other. I deleted the draft email. She dumped the altered capsules down the sink. We sat at the table without speaking for a long time. The cameras outside kept recording. But inside we stopped. A week later we started therapy. Not because one of us was unstable. Because both of us were. You don't need poison to destroy a marriage. You just need silence. And the quiet belief that the other person might betray you first. That belief almost turned us into enemies. Instead, it exposed something uncomfortable. We weren't protecting ourselves from harm. We were protecting ourselves from vulnerability. And that's a much slower way to lose everything. I don't know if we'll survive this. But at least now, we're not pretending it's a medical mystery. It was always a trust one.